Battle through the firmament. Grand World. Chapter 376 Healing Artifact. With his outstanding soul strength, Xiaoyan was able to see the changes in Zhu Tianhou with a single glance. The fire source within Zhu Tianhou's body was even more vigorous. There seemed to be a raging fire burning within his danshan, connecting his limbs and bones. The origin monarch qi was unimpeded within his body. There were flames lingering around his 4 limbs and 5 internal organs. They were like a fire line that gathered between his eyebrows. Xiaoyan. Zhu Tianhou's voice was slightly hoarse when he saw Xiaoyan. He stood up from the ground. His eyes were like blades as they pierced towards Lu Xiangyang, who was beside Xiaoyan. An endless killing intent was revealed in his eyes. Another one has come. After being hit by Zhu Tianhou's strongest attack, the blood flame scaled beast's strength had weakened by a lot. There was a deep tiredness hidden in his blood-red eyes. His already severely injured body had become even weaker now. Lu Xiangyang. Zhu Tianhou's expression suddenly became ferocious. He could clearly see that Xiaoyan had snatched the 2 blue Lu Xiangyangs from Lu Xiangyang's hands and crushed them. If he had been one step late, given his current condition, he really wouldn't have been able to dodge it. He heard Zhu Tianhou's low roar that was filled with killing intent. Lu Xiangyang's face turned pale all of a sudden. He looked at Xiaoyan who was standing beside him, and endless despair welled up in his heart. He had never thought that he would meet this bastard here. You went there. The competition in Realm in Valley has been brought forward. Now is the time for competition. After interrupting Zhu Tianhou's anger, Xiaoyan waved his hand and said, there was no need to get angry with someone like Lu Xiangyang. To the current Xiaoyan, he was more concerned about how much strength Zhu Tianhou had improved. Early, recovering his thoughts, Zhu Tianhou frowned. Before he could say anything, the blood flame scaled beast not far away had already rushed towards the location of the heavenly spring. Although he was unwilling, in order to deal with these 2 guys, he had to drink a few mouthfuls of the spring water to quickly heal his injuries. Don't let it drink that spring water. After regaining his senses, Zhu Tianhou's expression changed slightly. If the blood flame scaled beast's injuries were healed, it would be even more difficult to seriously injure it again. Hearing Zhu Tianhou's low roar, Xiaoyan's mind moved, and his body suddenly sped forward. In the blink of an eye, he had covered a distance of a few meters. Boom! Force directly sent the latter flying. It smashed into the rock wall in the distance. For a moment, gravel shot in all directions, and dust rolled. Humph! Stopping, Xiaoyan took a look at the spring water and frowned slightly. His speed was still a little slower, allowing the blood flame scaled beast to drink a large mouthful of the spring water. What great strength! Seeing the massive body of the blood flame scaled beast being sent flying by Xiaoyan, Zhu Tianhou's heart skipped a beat, and an indescribable feeling welled up in his heart. In the intense battle between him and the blood flame scaled beast just now, although his fists had hit the flesh, his strength was obviously far inferior to Xiaoyan's. Initially, he thought that after he had comprehended the sacred spirit fire body, his strength wouldn't be any weaker than the latter. But now, it seemed like the gap between them was still very obvious. Lu Xiangyang's face turned the color of a pig's liver. Xiaoyan's punch had caused him to tremble continuously. Both of his legs had turned soft. With this kind of strength, he was definitely not a match for Xiaoyan. Clenching his fist, Xiaoyan nodded his head in satisfaction. The successful cultivation of the second style of the profound martial arts had improved his physical strength. With the integration of the Heaven's Limit Fist and the Sky Spill Fist, Xiaoyan was quite satisfied with the power of this punch. Buzz! After being sent flying by Xiaoyan's punch, the blood flame scaled beast roared out from the pile of crushed stones. The injuries on his body had fully recovered, and his ki had been strengthened. With a slight flash, his huge body arrived next to Xiaoyan, and the huge claw slashed horizontally. The force was so great that it was enough to shatter a mountain. Xiaoyan did not dare to slight the blood flame scaled beast. Numerous turtle shell-like cracks appeared on the surface of his body. He moved his feet gently and dodged the huge claw of the former. A tail full of strength suddenly broke through the air and violently struck Xiaoyan's chest. After jumping a few times in the air and removing the force, Xiaoyan landed firmly on the ground. The tail hit caused the clothes on his chest to be torn apart, but there wasn't a single mark on his skin. An astonishing defensive power. The red light in the blood flame scaled beast's eyes flickered, but his heart was bleeding. He had just drunk a large mouthful of the spring water, which had greatly weakened the effect of the heavenly spring of extreme will. It would be extremely difficult for him to use it to restore his peak strength and transform into a human form. Damned brat, King is going to kill you. Fury rose in his heart. The blood flame scaled beast crazily rushed towards Xiaoyan and launched a storm-like attack. Its sharp claws slashed across the air, causing the air to buzz and vibrate. The sound that entered one's ears was enough to send shivers down one's spine. Lu Xiangyang looked at Xiaoyan, who was fighting the blood flame scaled beast, with a frightened expression. Even when faced with the blood flame scaled beast, which had recovered its strength, the latter was even more calm than Zhu Tianhou. The defense of his body was even more shocking. Even though he had exchanged injuries with the blood flame scaled beast, he was still not at a disadvantage. A monstrous genius. A monstrous genius. The roars in his heart kept filling his mind. Finally, Lu Xiangyang couldn't help but turn around and leave quietly. With Zhu Tianhou by his side, there was no hope for him to take the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. He could only pray that the blood flame scaled beast could unleash its divine might and kill both of them here. Seeing Lu Xiangyang leave, Zhu Tianhou hesitated for a moment, but he still gave up on chasing after him. He turned his eyes back to the man and beast who were fighting fiercely not far away. The more he looked at them, the more shocked he became. The strength that Xiaoyan had displayed at this moment had far surpassed the strength of the inner courtyard competition. He didn't seem to be at a disadvantage when fighting with the blood flame scaled beast. That spring water. After regaining his senses, Zhu Tianhou looked at a pool of spring water not far away. He could clearly see the miraculous effects of the spring water from the blood flame scaled beast. Clenching his teeth, Zhu Tianhou rushed towards the pool of spring water. Taking advantage of the blood flame scaled beast being entangled, he picked it up and drank it into his stomach. When the spring water entered his stomach, Zhu Tianhou immediately felt a cool feeling surge up from his danshan. The vigorous flame in his body seemed to have been nourished. The injuries on his body were unexpectedly healed. They were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Xiaoyan, let me help you. Zhu Tianhou cried out in a low voice. All the strength in his body had been recovered. His body moved gently and rushed towards the blood flame scaled beast. The flames in his hand were spat out. They agglomerated into a fire blade that was aimed at the latter's neck. With Zhu Tianhou's help, Xiaoyan also had some time to relax. His body leaped and he withdrew from the battleground. He looked at the lively Zhu Tianhou with some surprise. He couldn't help but click his tongue in surprise, then he took a deep breath. Although the battle with the blood flame scaled beast appeared to be on par with each other, it was quite difficult. Even with the protection of the black tortoise dragon rock wall, every collision still caused unbearable pain. Xiaoyan's eyes flickered. He did not hesitate any longer. Flames rose from his hands. The two monic flames swallowed and spat as they were about to merge together. Xiaoyan, don't destroy that spring water. Using his body to the extreme, he narrowly avoided the attack of the blood flame scaled beast. Zhu Tianhou was startled and shouted in a low voice. The effect of the spring water was comparable to a healing medicine. It was better than all the recovery medicine pills he had seen before. It would be a great regret if it was destroyed just like that. Hearing Zhu Tianhou's warning, Xiaoyan was slightly startled. Then, he chuckled and said, "Don't worry." He had already memorized the integration of the Buddha Fury Fire Lotus. His control of strength had already reached perfection. Last time, he had relied on the aura of the fire lotus to attract the blood flame scaled beast. This time, he would use it to kill it completely. Chapter End. Battle Through the Firmament. Grand World. Chapter 377 Zhu Tianho's Determination. 3,000 lightning monic flames and chaos-grade monic flames danced violently in his hands. Under the precise control of his soul energy, Xiaoyan clasped his hands together. In an instant, an imposing aura that shook the sky spread out from his hands, as if it was tearing the sky apart. Boom! The sharp claws struck, tearing the air apart like a ghost. The flesh and blood on Zhu Tianho's chest rolled, and he was hit on the cliff wall. His aura had also become much weaker. It feels the same as the last time. The blood flame scaled beast turned around. The blood ki on its body surged. It had completely unleashed all of its strength. When it sensed the supreme aura that was emitted from Xiaoyan's hand, a bright light flashed across its blood-red eyes. Shock surged into its heart. Go! In merely a moment, a reddish-gold fire lotus appeared in Xiaoyan's hand. The fire lotus was flowing with brilliant colors and was extremely gorgeous. The reddish-gold light was just like flowing water that poured down. It made the fire lotus look extremely beautiful. The fire lotus was just like a shooting star as it gently flicked its finger. It passed through layers of space and arrived beside the blood flame scaled beast in an instant. Blood sea rising. The blood flame scaled beast was unable to escape from being locked onto by the fire lotus. It let out a low roar as the blood aura on its enormous body surged. A nose-stringing stench filled the entire canyon. It was like a sea of blood beneath the 9 underworlds. Layer upon layer of blood lingered around it, devouring one's soul. Swoosh! The fire lotus jumped into the sea of blood, and it was as if snow had come into contact with boiling oil. It was as if the sea of blood was rapidly melting. The crimson gold flame danced wildly in the sky, as if it was enveloping the sea of blood. Sizzle sizzle. The blood flame scaled beast's body was deep and deep. The origin kiss within its body surged out continuously, transforming into a blood ki that blocked the fire lotus. The wild and violent energy contained within the fire lotus completely suppressed its blood ki. It was completely unable to resist it. Not far away, Zhu Tianho stood up while enduring the pain in his chest. He looked at the collision between the fire lotus and the blood energy with a complicated expression in his eyes. They were both flames, and the strongest monic skill he had comprehended could barely fight the blood flame-scaled beast to a draw. However, Xiaoyan's fire lotus was actually able to erode this blood energy. Keke. He clenched his fists and joints tightly. With a cracking sound, Zhu Tianho's face turned pale. During this month, he had suffered a lot in the remote mountains. Finally, he had a small understanding of the sacred fire body, and his strength had also risen. But now, it seemed like he was still no match for Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan's face was also pale. In the previous battle with the blood flame-scaled beast, he had already used up more than half of his origin monic ki to use the black tortoise dragon rock wall. Now, he had used the Buddha Fury fire lotus, and had even used up all the origin monic ki in his body. Boom! With a thought, the fire lotus had already rushed into the blood sea. In an instant, blood and ki surged, filling the entire canyon. The green grass on the ground had withered, and the surrounding cliffs, which were as hard as iron, had been corroded. Elder Yi, I had a feeling just now. Something seemed to have happened in the mountain. Did you notice? In the outer mountains of Yunlo Academy, at the place where the students had departed, Elder Wu and a middle-aged man were sitting opposite each other, playing chess. Hearing Elder Wu's at the end, he shook his head with a bitter smile. Elder Wu, you always rely on your aura to detect it. My strength is far inferior to yours, and my soul force cannot cover that far. Elder Wu smiled and shook his head when he heard this. His hand that was holding the chess piece paused for a moment. A trace of worry suddenly appeared in his originally calm eyes. Are you worried about Xiaoyan? Elder Yi said softly when he saw this. He's the only one. This guy is a bit impulsive. If he provokes some powerful existence, it will be bad. Elder Wu sighed and placed the chess piece heavily on the chessboard. That fellow is indeed powerful. A few days ago, when Elder Lu went out, I also had some matters to attend to. I heard from Ran Hong that Xiaoyan used his own strength to refine the 6th grade medicine pill. This talent is something that even those genius alchemists in the star field can't match up to. Rank 6. Good kid. This kind of skill in alchemy is something that all sects have. Rank 6. This kind of skill in alchemy is more useful than a single monarch emperor level expert. He gave a soft sigh of admiration. Elder Wu nodded his head, his eyes filled with admiration. Back then, Elder Fang said that Xiaoyan had disappeared from the Saint Meteorite Mountain. Now, he has come here unharmed, and his soul energy has grown so much. Don't you think? As the vice president of the Elixir Association, Elder Yi paid great attention to the growth of Xiaoyan's soul. Immediately, he picked up a chess piece and said in a low voice. Impossible. Hearing Elder Yi's words, Elder Wu was obviously shocked. He had some understanding about the Saint Meteorite Mountain in Forest Domain. It had been tens of thousands of years. Even the ultimate saint expert would probably turn into smoke and vanish into thin air. I heard that Wu Shaoqi obtained the inheritance of an ancient mighty figure in the illusory spirit space. The experts who fell in the illusory spirit space were the shortest amount of time. It has already been 500 to 600,000 years. There is an ancient grand formation in the illusory spirit space. The Saint Meteorite Mountain is located in the forest domain. It has been so many years. Even if there is anything left behind, I'm afraid that it has already been plundered by other experts. The dean has also gone there once and found nothing. Back then, Xiaoyan was weak. How could he have gotten anything from it? Elder Wu shook his head. Obviously, he didn't believe it. Shrugging his shoulders, Elder Yi said with a smile. Then, how did Xiaoyan's soul power reach its current level through the 3 steps soul transfer? Elder Wu remained silent after hearing this. A conflicted expression also surfaced in his eyes. Finally, he sighed. He pinched the chess piece in his hand into ashes and said, "This kind of thing, I do not know either. However, it is also good if Xiaoyan really obtained that expert's inheritance. At the very least, he can bring some hope to the Yunlo Academy when he is in the 4 academies competition." Elder Yi smiled. When he thought of the future of the Yunlo Academy, a trace of worry couldn't help but appear in his eyes. The golden light dispersed and devoured all the blood and qi in the canyon. Zhu Tianhou swept away the dust in front of him, and a bottomless pit appeared in front of him. Black smoke filled the pit, and the powerful destructive force caused Zhu Tianhou's heart to skip a beat. The fire, lotus disappeared, and Xiaoyan couldn't stand still any longer. Both of his legs went weak, and he fell to the ground, gasping for breath. When Zhu Tianhou saw this, he remained silent and walked forward. In the deep pit, the indestructible body of the blood flame-scaled beast was also blasted to the point where its skin and flesh were lacerated. Its aura was extremely weak, and miserable roars could be heard intermittently. Realm in Valley. Looking at Xiaoyan, Zhu Tianhou clenched his teeth tightly. After pondering for a moment, he finally shook his head and walked to the side of the spring. He took out a few jade bottles and poured the spring water into them. There were not many extreme will heavenly spring. It was filled with 3 jade bottles. Zhu Tianhou came to Xiaoyan's side with an expressionless face and placed the 2 bottles of spring water in front of Xiaoyan. "I will take this bottle away. I don't intend to enter the realm in Valley yet. If you see the elders, tell them that I am cultivating in the outer mountain. Don't come and find me. When I comprehend the sacred spirit fire body, I will naturally return." A cold light flickered in Zhu Tianhou's eyes as he spoke in a deep voice. "Also, tell Xiaoyi to wait." After saying that, he gave Xiaoyan a deep look and flew out of the canyon without looking back. Xiaoyan sat cross-legged on the ground and watched Zhu Tianhou leave. From the beginning until the end, He didn't say a word. He could feel that entering the realm in Valley was more like a restriction to Zhu Tianhou. Glancing at the 2 jade bottles on the ground, Xiaoyan picked up one bottle and drank a mouthful. After the cool spring water entered his mouth, his hot body suddenly felt refreshed. Some of the obvious bruises and wounds on his body also recovered very quickly. This is a good thing. Xiaoyan smacked his lips and carefully put away the 2 jade bottles. This kind of thing could save one's life at a critical moment. Although it couldn't heal the origin monic key, it wouldn't have any problems healing one's injuries. Next up is this. After a brief pause, Xiaoyan got up and threw his gaze towards the blood flame-scaled beast in the deep pit. As long as he obtained this heavenly core, there would be no suspense in his victory in this competition. Chapter End. Battle Through the Firmament. Grand World. Chapter 378. The consequences are self-inflicted. A palm struck down and broke a tree trunk that was as thick as a thigh. Lu Xiangyang's face was gloomy and uncertain. He had nowhere to vent the anger in his chest, and it almost caused him to explode with rage. Ah! Lu Xiangyang roared towards the sky. Both of his eyes turned red, and he threw his fists wildly at the huge trees. A few months ago, he was still the 3rd strongest warrior of the soaring dragon ranking, and it was certain that he would enter the realm in Valley. He never thought that everything would change in such a short period of time. Xiaoyan and Zhu Tianhou had suddenly risen up, and their strength had far exceeded his. Wu Shaoqi, who was supposed to be his opponent, had also become a monic emperor. Whenever he thought of this, he would feel extremely aggrieved in his heart. Lu Xiangyang, who was frenziedly venting his anger, suddenly had a thought. His eyes sparkled. Zhu Tianhou definitely did not have the qualifications to participate in the competition. This time, there were 2 people who could enter the realm in Valley, and since Xiaoyan could not be defeated, he just needed to collect the scores of the others. In this case, I won't be able to fulfill my promise to Zhuang He and the others. After muttering to himself for a while, a resolute look emerged in Lu Xiangyang's eyes. He couldn't even protect himself now, so why should he care about the others? No matter what, he had to enter the realm in Valley. Alright, Xiaoyan, you go with your Yang Guan Dao. I will cross my single log bridge. Damn it, it's best if you don't come and cause me any more trouble. Lu Xiangyang's heart trembled when he recalled the strength that Xiaoyan had displayed during the battle with the blood flame-scaled beast. There was no way he could be a match for this guy. There's still a week's time. Collect the scores of those guys as soon as possible, then hide from Xiaoyan. After making up his mind, Lu Xiangyang did not hesitate any longer. His body flashed and rushed into the distance. The so-called alliance oath had long been forgotten by him. Within the canyon, Xiaoyan held the heavenly core in his hand and stored the enormous body of the blood flame-scaled beast into the storage ring. The entire canyon was filled with shattered rocks. With this heavenly core, the points on the token should be enough for me to enter the realm in Valley. After putting the heavenly core into the storage ring, Xiaoyan let out a light sigh. After pondering for a moment, he shook his head. Since he had enough points, he couldn't be bothered to go out anymore. It was a good time for him to cultivate here. This canyon was the blood flame-scaled beast's nest. After being nourished by the special spring water, the origin key was thick and dense. Cultivating here would bring about twice the result with half the effort. Lu Xiangyang, you. Before he could finish his words, his voice stopped abruptly. Lu Xiangyang's expression was cold as he stood up. He picked up the token in the young man's hand. Light flickered, and the points on it had already been poured into his own token. Lu Xiangyang glanced at the unconscious young man. There was no longer any hesitation in his eyes. Immediately, he rushed into the distance. 2 days had passed. In these 2 days, all the students that Lu Xiangyang met had their points taken by force. Even the students of the punishment department were no exception. I saw Bai Yongzhao yesterday. That fellow ran pretty. He pursed his lips. The sharpness in Lu Xiangyang's eyes intensified. Over the past 2 days, the score on his token had also increased to over 400 points. If everything went smoothly, his score should be able to stabilize at around 500 points in the end. More than 500 points. It should be enough for me to enter the realm in Valley. Licking his lips, Lu Xiangyang revealed a trace of joy between his brows. It would be fine even if he offended all the students of the punishment department. After all, he would have to leave the punishment department after entering the realm in Valley. These guys would be his last help. And Zhuang He, Zhao Yuanhao, and the others. Lu Xiangyang stopped under a giant tree. A trace of contemplation flashed across his eyes. These few fellows were far stronger than ordinary students. Perhaps they had also obtained a lot of points in the past 2 days. Then let's catch them all in one fell swoop. Thinking of the points on their tokens, Lu Xiangyang gritted his teeth and revealed a cruel smile. The scars on his face were extremely hideous. He took out the red flame pipe and suddenly crushed it. Lu Xiangyang expressionlessly looked at his clenched fist and coldly snorted. Zhuang He, who had been wandering in the forest for 2 days, sensed the change in the red flame pipe. Zhao Yuanhao and the other punishment department captains were shocked, but they didn't think too much about it. They rushed to where Lu Xiangyang was. Captain. The few of them arrived after a long journey. When they saw that Lu Xiangyang was safe and sound, they heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. Currently, Lu Xiangyang was their backbone. Without his organization, those students who had fled in all directions would not be able to contact him. How's the heavenly beast? Zhao Yuanhao let out a soft sigh and said with a fervent gaze. If Lu Xiangyang could get the heavenly core from the heavenly beast, he would give them an equal amount of points, and each of them would get a considerable amount of points. When I'm about to succeed, Xiaoyan came. I had no choice but to leave. Lu Xiangyang did not hide anything. He sighed regretfully. It's Xiaoyan again. Damn it. He has ruined our plans time and time again. Zhuang He gritted his teeth when he heard Xiaoyan's name. He felt helpless in his heart. However, although I didn't obtain the heavenly core, I have another way to obtain points. A cold smile flashed across Lu Xiangyang's eyes when he saw the change in the expressions of the few of them. However, his face revealed a smile as he said, "What method? Captain, say it, we will definitely support you with all our strength." When the other captain of the punishment department, Wu Jia, heard this, he immediately expressed his stance. The others also nodded their heads tightly. All right, since that's the case, then give me your scores. Lu Xiangyang smiled when he heard this. His voice suddenly turned cold. What? The smiles on their faces froze, and they looked at Lu Xiangyang in disbelief. If you want to blame someone, blame Xiaoyan. He has obtained the heavenly core, and he will definitely enter the realm in Valley. As for the remaining quota, it must be me. With a low roar, the origin key around Lu Xiangyang's body suddenly condensed. His fist was like lightning as it struck towards Zhuang He's chest. The latter did not have time to react before he was violently sent flying backwards. The powerful punch caused Zhuang He to faint. Lu Xiangyang. When they saw the sudden change in expression of Lu Xiangyang, the rest of them also reacted. Their expressions changed drastically, and they did not have any countermeasures. I'm sorry, everyone. Lu Xiangyang's facial expression was cold. He exerted his movement technique to the limit and rushed towards Zhao Yuanhao and the others. Who? Elder Wu exhaled lightly and lifted his gaze to look at the distant vast lushness forest. He mumbled to himself, 15 days. Time's up. Xiaoyan, I'm waiting for you. In the canyon, Xiaoyan's eyes, which had been tightly shut for several days, slowly opened. He stretched out his limbs, which had not moved for a long time. The bones in his body loosened, and cracking sounds were heard. It's time. How do we get out of here? After a lazy moan, Xiaoyan jumped up. The score on the token had increased from 200 points a few days ago to 100 points. Swoosh! With a light movement of his body, Xiaoyan had already left this place. In the depths of the canyon, where the spring water had originally dried up, was a place where the spring water was located. Drops of spring water were actually gushing out. From the looks of its speed, a clear spring would appear in this place after hundreds and thousands of years. Not bad. The points on the token are also 800 points. Besides Xiaoyan, my points are definitely the highest. Walking out from a cave, Lu Xiangyang's face was filled with excitement. As long as he could enter the realm in Valley, it wouldn't matter even if he was hated by everyone in the punishment department. You look very happy. Suddenly, a deep voice sounded behind him. Lu Xiangyang's facial expression changed instantly. He suddenly looked behind him. On a huge rock in the distance, a ball of flame was surging, and Zhu Tianho's figure gradually appeared. Zhu Tianho. These three words were squeezed out from the gaps between his teeth. Lu Xiangyang's expression was extremely ugly. Before he could speak, Zhu Tianho had already suddenly stepped forward. The flame in his hand surged. His hand was pressed on Lu Xiangyang's back, easily piercing through the latter's origin key armor. Wu. Lu Xiangyang did not have the slightest resistance as he fell to the ground. He lost all feeling. His slowly shut eyes were filled with despair. This is the token, right? Humph. Humph. Realm in Valley. With a light smile, Zhu Tianho picked up the token from Lu Xiangyang's waist. The flame in his hand burned the token into ashes in an instant. Xiao Yi, just you wait. Clenching his teeth, killing intent surged into Zhu Tianho's eyes. Fire source ki fluctuated all over his body, causing the space to tremble slightly. And Xiaoyan, after defeating Xiao Yi, it will be you. Pausing for a moment, Zhu Tianho pursed his lips. The killing intent in his eyes disappeared. A complicated expression flashed across his face. After that, he let out a soft humph and leapt into the air, rushing towards the deeper parts of the forest. Chapter End. Battle Through the Firmament. Grand World. Chapter 379. I will live up to my expectations. Outside the mountain, several elders waited patiently. The competition for the quota of the realm in Valley had come to an end. The next thing they needed to do was to wait for all the participants to come out and calculate their scores. This time, you have arranged for 2 spots. Zhu Tianho didn't participate. I'm afraid Lu Xiangyang is the only one who didn't participate. Elder Wu stood with his head held high. He smiled at Elder Xiao and spoke. There is no news about that little guy, and I don't know if he is still alive or dead. If he enters the realm in Valley, he will definitely be able to master the sacred spirit fire body with the help of the cultivation resources there. Sighing regretfully, Elder Xiao said in a deep voice. Lu Xiangyang is one of the top few experts in the soaring dragon ranking, and he still has some strength. After entering the realm in Valley, he might have some sort of breakthrough as well. He's here. While the few elders were conversing, a human figure rushed out from afar. Looking at his face, it was Yi Yi. With a few leaps, he quickly arrived in front of the elders. Yi Yi, you have come out quite early. Take out the token and let me see how many points you have. Elder Yi, clearly familiar with Yi Yi, glanced at the latter's tattered clothes and spoke with a smile. Forget it. The points on the token have long been snatched away by Xiaoyan. The remaining points are nothing. Yi Yi smiled bitterly when he heard this. There wasn't much anger in his tone. He had nothing to say about the fact that he was weaker than Xiaoyan. When he was in the inner courtyard competition, he had already been shocked by Xiaoyan's performance. It turned out that some of the thoughts in his mind had also vanished. These are some medicinal ingredients and a few low-grade heavenly beast heavenly cores that I have obtained over the past few days. He extended his hand, and a few strange medicinal ingredients and 2 heavenly cores emitting a spiritual glow appeared on the wooden table in front of them. Xiaoyan, I didn't expect you to meet him. Elder Wu smiled when he heard that. He pushed all the herbs to Elder Yi and kept the 2 heavenly cores. Low-grade heavenly cores, 1 is equal to 100 points. Elder Yi, take a look at the quality of these herbs. Elder Yi glanced at the few herbs and nodded lightly. These few herbs are all very ordinary. The best fire essence fruit can only be used as the raw material to refine tier 4 medicine pills. These things are equal to 80 points. 80 points. Yi laughed bitterly when he heard this. He took out his token. The score on it was only a pitiful 20 points. 300 points. Yi, this score is not enough to enter the realm in Valley. Elder Shao laughed out loud and couldn't help but tease him. Yi shrugged his shoulders and was about to speak when some of the students also came out one after another. All of them had bitter expressions on their faces. Most of the points on the tokens were only a few points. There were even some who did not have a single point on their tokens. All of your points were stolen by Shaoyan. Seeing so many empty tokens, Elder Wu was slightly surprised. Shaoyan had gone a little too far. He had simply swept through everyone's points. With his strength, dealing with these relatively weaker students would be completely crushing. It's not Shaoyan, it's Lu Xiangyang. The tanned Yang Tao's face was ashen. He gritted his teeth and spoke. That day, under the attack of the blood flame-scaled beast, he had run away with everyone. The next day, he suddenly met Lu Xiangyang. Without saying a word, the latter beat him to the ground and snatched all the points before leaving. When Yang Tao said those words, almost all of the students nodded in agreement and cursed. Most of these people were members of the alliance formed by Lu Xiangyang. After joining, they did not obtain anything and even lost their own points. Hearing Yang Tao's words, Zhao Yuanhao's face darkened, and his heart was filled with fury. Wang Chao and the others trusted Lu Xiangyang so much. Although they knew that he wouldn't hesitate to use any means to enter the realm in Valley, they still didn't expect that Lu Xiangyang would attack their brothers who usually called themselves brothers. Lu Xiangyang. The elders looked at each other. After that, Elder Wu coughed lightly and said in a deep voice, "This is a competition to begin with. There's nothing wrong with Lu Xiangyang snatching your points. Even if he enters the realm in Valley, I won't acknowledge him as one of the strongest students. I really don't dare to praise the integrity of this captain of the punishment department." Yang Tao was straightforward. He cupped his hands at Elder Wu and left in big strides. Since he couldn't enter the realm in Valley, he didn't need to stay here. Yang Tao's words immediately resonated with the majority of the students. They became furious but did not dare to act rashly in front of the elders and left one after another. Most of them used this opportunity to obtain some heavenly cores or rare medicinal ingredients in the deep forest. After handing them over to the few elders, they could only exchange for a little points. To them, the points were already useless. It was better to exchange some spirit pavilions with the pill gathering or the spirit pavilion. This would allow them to train for a little longer. In any case, no matter what, if Lu Xiangyang is able to enter the realm in Valley, it can be considered a joyous occasion for the punishment department. Seeing some of the students leave, Yi Chang said. Elder Yi smiled and turned to Elder Wu. Elder Wu glanced at him. He glanced at Elder Wu, who was standing at the side. Zhuang He and the others had gloomy expressions on their faces. They were the leaders of the punishment department. With Elder Wu here, they didn't dare to leave like the other students. Turning his head, Elder Wu smiled. He also had some understanding in his heart. It seemed like Lu Xiangyang had offended a lot of people from the punishment department in order to enter the realm in Valley. All the elders are here. While Elder Wu was lost in his thoughts, a clear voice suddenly sounded out. After that, Shaoyan's figure appeared in their line of sight. "Shaoyan, I was waiting for you." Elder Wu laughed out loud. Ignoring the strange gazes of the surrounding students, he stretched out his hand and said, "Let me take a look at the score on the token." Stopping in front of the three elders, Shaoyan's eyes swept across Yi, Zhuang He, and the rest. As he took out the token, he asked curiously, "Where's Lu Xiangyang? Didn't he come out with you?" Seeing Zhuang He and the others shaking their heads with ugly expressions, Shaoyan frowned slightly. He had stayed in the canyon because he was worried about the alliance that Lu Xiangyang had formed. He had thought that Lu Xiangyang would ally with Zhuang He and the others to snatch the scores of all the other students. Looking at the expressions of Zhuang He and the others, it seemed that this was not the case. Why is it only 100 points? Xiaoyan, what have you been doing these past few days? Elder Xiao frowned slightly when he saw the points on the token. He could also feel that Xiaoyan's strength had reached the level of 5 emperors. This fellow couldn't have gone in and only cultivated, right? When Yi saw this, his heart skipped a beat, and a trace of anticipation appeared in his heart. What medicinal herbs did you collect? Elder Yi squinted his eyes and asked. With Xiaoyan's eyesight, the herbs that he could obtain would definitely not be ordinary. I didn't see any precious herbs. Xiaoyan shrugged his shoulders. When he saw Elder Xiao's somewhat ugly expression, Xiaoyan did not dare to delay any longer. With a flip of his hand, he took out the blood flame scaled beast's heavenly core. The moment the heavenly core appeared, the spiritual key on it suddenly soared into the sky. It was filled with a baleful aura, causing the expressions of Yi and the rest to instantly change. The ferocious aura contained within it was not something they could withstand. Elder Xiao waved his sleeve. The origin key vibrated and eliminated this murderous aura. His gaze was like a bolt of lightning as he stared intently at the blood-colored heavenly core in Xiaoyan's hand. After a long while, he finally spoke in a soft voice, a high-tier heavenly beast's heavenly core. Elder Wu and Elder Yi inhaled a breath of cold air when they saw Xiaoyan nod his head. The shock in their hearts had already reached a stage where it could not be any greater. Yi's face was pale. When he heard Elder Xiao's words, he couldn't help but laugh bitterly. The last thought of competing with Xiaoyan had also disappeared without a trace. Once the heavenly core of a high-grade heavenly beast was revealed, it was certain that they would enter the realm in Valley. You are truly a monstrous genius. Elder Xiao smiled. The shock in his heart had calmed down, and what replaced it was a kind of joy. Xiaoyan had really lived up to his expectations. With this kind of strength, he could be considered one of the experts even if he entered the realm in Valley. Chapter N. Battle Through the Firmament. Grand World. Chapter 380. Useless. After that, the other students came back one after another, all with ugly faces. Some of the students, who wanted to take a gamble, carried their final hope. They handed over the medicinal ingredients that they had picked and the heavenly cores and spirit cores that they had used all their strength to obtain, in hopes that they would be able to exchange for some points. Why hasn't Lu Xiangyang come out yet? Almost all of the students who had participated in the competition had come out. Elder Xiao involuntarily frowned when he did not see Lu Xiangyang. Although he felt some regret in his heart, compared to Lu Xiangyang, it was still a pity. Lu Xiangyang could be said to be an extremely talented and powerful student besides Xiaoyan. On the side, Bai Yongzhao, who had just handed over the things, stood with his arms crossed in front of his chest. There was no sadness or joy in his heart. With Xiaoyan and Lu Xiangyang, this time, he didn't want to enter the realm in Valley, but he had been cultivating for a long time. He had been relaxing in the deep forest when he met Lu Xiangyang. He didn't resist too much and gave the score to the latter. In the past few days, the points obtained were equal to the points obtained from the items, which was 2 points more than Yi's. His gaze swept across the medicinal herbs on the wooden table in front of the elders. Xiaoyan's heart moved slightly. Among the medicinal herbs that Bai Yongzhao handed over just now, there was one that was one of the main ingredients to refine the essence protecting pill. For the fighting monarch of Lower Realm, from the moment it advanced to the emperor cultivation, the heart flame burning was a hurdle that one had no choice but to cross. This hurdle, once they crossed it, they would be like a fish leaping over the dragon gate. If he couldn't cross it, he would be turned into ashes. Other than that, there was no other way. As for the essence protecting pill, it was undoubtedly a holy item to the fighting monarch of Lower Realm. However, the main ingredient used to refine them was really too rare. Today, they were able to find one. This meant that there might be a few of them in the deep mountains. When they were free, he had to make a trip to the deep mountains. All right, Lu Xiangyang hasn't returned yet. You guys can leave first. At that time, I will inform you of the time you will enter the realm in Valley. Elder Shao waved his hand. Although his voice was loud, he only said it to them. Bai Yongzhao and the others cupped their fists at Elder Wu when they heard this. Then, they left. What happened next had nothing to do with them. After telling Elder Shao about Zhu Tianhou, Shaoyan also rushed towards the academy. The blood flame-scaled beast's corpse and the heavenly core were both in his storage ring. Regardless of which aspect one considered, it was a rich fortune. After catching up to Bai Yongzhao and explaining his intentions, the latter gave the medicinal ingredient to Shaoyan in an extremely straightforward manner. He also told him where to pick the medicinal ingredient. He did not mention a single word about the so-called reward. After parting with Bai Yongzhao, Shaoyan directly returned to the heavenly peak where he was located. Zuna and Kalen were ranked behind the Soaring Dragon ranking. The spirit origin stone given by the academy was also sufficient for the two of them to freely squander within the spirit source formation. In 15 days, both of their strengths had advanced, and they had broken through to the 9th monic spirit. On the heavenly peak, Kalen was cultivating in the spirit source formation. Zuna sat on the stone bench, thinking of something. When she saw Shaoyan return, Zuna could not help but feel happy. She stood up like a swallow and quickly rushed into Shaoyan's embrace. Husband Shaoyan, you are going to enter the realm in Valley soon. Zuna blinked her big eyes and hugged Shaoyan as she softly said. Shaoyan nodded. There was no doubt about him entering the realm in Valley. As for when he would go in, it would be a matter of time. Zuna did not speak when she heard this. It was a long while later before she softly sighed and spoke in a gentle voice. It is not easy to reunite with husband Shaoyan. We are going to be separated again. Shaoyan smiled. He hugged Zuna's slim waist and looked at the beauty in his embrace as he softly said. Zuna, don't worry. The students in Realm in Valley can come out after the elders agree. I will often see you guys. You and Kalen must also work hard to cultivate and try to come in earlier. Zuna heard this and softly said, Husband Shaoyan, Sister Lin and I will definitely go in. But at that time, will the difference in strength between us be even greater? Hearing Zuna's words, Shaoyan could not help but be at a loss for words and could only nod his head. After entering the realm in Valley, he needed to find a way to enter the illusory spirit space as soon as possible and use the majestic origin kiss to nourish the monic flame and absorb it. If things went smoothly, his strength would definitely increase by a large margin. Zuna and Kalen could only follow the order, little by little progress. Seeing that Shaoyan did not speak for a long time, Zuna gently smiled. She gently pounded Shaoyan's chest with her jade fist and said, So Sister Lin and I have to work harder. We absolutely cannot drag husband Shaoyan down. Hearing the determination in Zuna's soft voice, Shaoyan's heart moved. He tightly held Zuna in his arms. What more could a married woman ask for? When Kalen woke up from her cultivation, she also knew about Shaoyan entering the realm in Valley. When she heard this, she only nodded her head. Her face was as cold as usual, but there was also a trace of determination in her eyes. Xiao, this spring water has a good effect on healing injuries. Come and drink some. After having some time with the two girls, Shaoyan sat beside the stone table and whispered to himself. He used his mind to communicate with the Xiao. A fiery light flew out from Shaoyan's body. The flame swayed and turned into a Xiao. The Xiao's face was full of fatigue, and its small eyes were no longer as quick-witted as before. As its injuries became heavier and heavier, its strength also greatly decreased. After coming out, he did not pay attention to Shaoyan and first smiled at Zuna and Kalen. His smile was still filled with a trace of slyness. Zuna and Kalen had also heard Shaoyan talk about Xiao's. When they saw the latter, they were also not surprised and smiled in response. This is the extreme heavenly spring. I did not expect that there would be such a thing here. He took a jade bottle from the stone table and drank a few mouthfuls. The Xiaoao smacked its lips and curled its lips before placing it on the stone table. You know him. When he heard the Xiaoao say the name of the spring water, Xiaoyan was slightly surprised. Of course, in the past, this thing was a must-have item when fighting. However, it seems like it has yet to mature. Pouting, the Xiaoao said weakly, this kind of thing. It mainly recovers external injuries, as well as strength and the damaged origin kiss in the body. However, this is only for people with low strength like you. For those above the monic cultivation, King could only recover a little of his strength. As the holy beast that shook the entire world, he could only recover a little bit of his strength. Even if his strength has been greatly reduced, this kind of thing is useless. After a long while, the Xiaoao did not forget to praise itself. Furthermore, my injury is an injury of my origin. Ordinary medicine pills and external objects will not be of any use. The Xiaoao paused for a moment. It seemed to have seen through Xiaoyan's worries as it spoke in a deep voice. An injury of my origin. Xiaoyan's expression sank. The hope in his eyes also disappeared in an instant. He originally thought that with this thing, it would be of some help to the Xiaoao's recovery. He did not expect that it would still be the same as before. When he was fighting the earth-fire profound crystal beast in the star-severing mountain range, the Xiaoao had used its source energy. At that time, it had already damaged its source energy. After that, when it fought the demon in the illusory spirit space, it had even overdrawn its source energy. Thinking of this, Xiaoyan's heart ached. I'm really sorry. I promised my teacher that I would take good care of you. Now, you have become like this. Looking at the Xiaoao who was pretending to be smiling, Xiaoyan smiled bitterly and said. The Xiaoao pouted. A warmth surged into his heart. He mused for a moment before speaking in a careless manner. In that case, you should train properly after entering the realm in Valley. After your strength increases, you might see some medicine that can recover King's injuries. Hearing that the Xiaoao was pretending to be serious, Xiaoyan smiled when he heard these words. He extended his hand and rubbed the former's red hair. Under his dissatisfied gaze, he nodded firmly and said, of course. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.